Well, guys, we are back for another episode of the Liberal Asshole Show, episode 74. And for the first time ever, and hopefully the only time ever, I'm the only one here, as Vlog was too sick to do the episode today. I didn't feel like waiting, so it's just gonna be me on this one. So anyways, today's topics are another Ana Terf Meltdown, silly feminist personality quiz, Idaho wants to ban interstate abortion travel, Bernie destroys Howard Schultz, civil war in Sudan, U.S. military leak, stupid conservatives rage at Mr. Beast being based, and conservatives rage at Bud Light. Alright, so we're going to start off with the first topic, of course. Ana experienced Terf Meltdown from the last episode we covered, where she did a tweet about how she didn't like to be called birthin' person and all that stuff from last time out. Because in a 2-week since, oh boy, she's double down, triple down, and quadruple down on Twitter, and the Young Turks and all that. Chanks defend her and all that, and she just made a complete fool of herself. She swore off all leftists for good, which I've seen how sometimes they react to me. I don't blame her, but yeah, this whole thing is like really stupid. And the leftist mafia made fun of her. Lance, David Dole, everyone's made fun of her and all that stuff. So yeah, she's still doubling down on not being called birthin' person. So of course, I think both sides are in the wrong somewhat. Although Anna's way more in the wrong. First off, the big problem I have with the people who are going after her is that they still insist that no one's called her this. Well, you don't know that. You don't know what happened in her personal life. She might have been called that. And I know firsthand because I've been, not called a birthin' person, but I've had stupid leftists online insist on I'm this thing and not and stuff like that. Like, there are a bunch of really stupid people on the left, and leftists on YouTube and stuff need to acknowledge it and not deny that it's a reality. And don't say that they don't exist either. They do. So, you don't know what could happen in Anna's life. I mean, what happened in her personal life. Maybe she did indeed make this all up out of the blue. There's one rumor I saw on Twitter that some people think that she had like a doctor's appointment or whatever and saw like a like a fill out thing you have to do when you go to doctors, and it's had birthin' person on there, and that's what caused her to have her Terf meltdown. I mean, we don't know. Maybe that could be the case. Or maybe, just maybe, she's genuine. And someone really did call her this, and she had an absolute meltdown over it. You don't know, and until she says why she had this meltdown, you should give her the benefit of the doubt. Now, Ana, you got to stop. Even if I agree with you that you shouldn't be called a birthin' person if you so don't want to, there's nothing wrong with the term itself. Because guess what, Ana? There are a lot of trans women that can't give birth, like you can. There are women, too, that don't have uteruses or whatever, so they can't give birth. Like, there are women, too, that, menopause and stuff like that, older women, they can't give birth whatsoever. The terms are there for people who not fully women yet. They're trans individuals that haven't fully transitioned, or if they did transition, they can't give birth. Because, like, if you're a man, you become a trans woman, you can't give birth. If I transition to a woman, I can't do anything like that or get pregnant, no matter what happens. So, the terms are for medical use, and they are needed. So, just stop. Just stop being stupid. Just stop, Ana. All you're doing is just burning the bridge and showing why. Guys, TYTs just sucked over the last few years. I mean, guys, remember, they had their SJW fit back in 2015, 16, and such, where they were like hardcore SJW idiots. Then they had their hardcore Democratic defense, which they still do to this day, but not as much as, oh my god, like back in 2016, 17, all that, like when they defended Russiagate and all that. They looked silly then. Now, they're having like a right-wing turn. Like, last year when Chank insisted on supporting and voting for a Republican candidate for Los Angeles mayor, because he's all of a sudden now pro-cop to an extreme extent, and now Anna's going full turf recently. Like, the TYT just sucks. They're going right wing. And people should not really watching them anymore. They just suck. I haven't watched them really since 2015 because they've been so bad lately. And people on the left really shouldn't be bothered with them anymore. Go watch Mike, Dole, and Kyle. They're definitely better than TYT. So yeah, people, please stop saying that no one's called Anna this because you don't know that. Please stop saying that no one ever says this stuff on the left. They do. I've seen them firsthand. And Anna, just stop. Either explain why you had this meltdown or just shut up. All you're doing is getting really transphobic and it's just wrong. So yeah, now with that out of the way, on to the next topic, which is the silly feminist personality quiz. Now, we've done quizzes and polls before on last. The very first thing we did on last was a political compass test. And then I think we had back in 2020, we had like 3 episodes straight where we did some sort of quiz. I side with how socialist are you, and then something else too. So we've done this stuff before. This one I found from someone I follow on Twitter over the last few years. Did a personality quiz for feminism. And I figured, you know what? As a feminist myself, I figured, why not try and see what I ranked in as? Because the person I was subscribed to, they were really, really weird with their feminist personality quiz. So I figured I'd be quite curious to see what I would be. And of course, I took it. This was a few weeks ago. I took the quiz, and oh god, oh my god, a lot of the questions ranged, I kid you not, from misandrous to misogynistic. A feminist quiz going all over the spectrum. It was just wild. So I figured I'd do it right here so you can see it all and respond to it. So anyways, it's time to take the test. It's like 70 questions too. Alright, so here we go. Take the test. And they're all in random order. Oh, it's 60 questions. But it's in random order too of the questions. So anyways, question number 1. Using man to mean both men and women is one of many ways in which sexist language diminishes women's potential. No. Absolutely not. Man is a term for mankind in general. It's not demeaning towards women. It's just not. It's the dictionary definition. Just get over it. I had the same argument with Harry a few years ago too, where he says that they're called people kind or humankind because saying mankind is offensive towards women. It's just not. It's just a term. Get over it. So no, it doesn't demean women. It's not sexist. All right, number 2. Someone who is ethnically white can still identify as a woman of color. This is transracialism. I mean, now, of course, identifying as a woman, gender is a societal construct. We create it, so yeah, anyone can identify as a man or a woman. Now, racially, that might be a little bit tougher because I've seen this argument before. I remember, what was her name? Rachel Dotel or whatever her name was back in like 2015, 16 or so, where she was a white woman that identifies as black and all that. Now, technically, race is also a social construct. So, I mean, if we're gonna say since men and women are social construct, but gender is a social construct, and you can identify with whatever, I guess by very logic, you can identify with whatever race you want. I don't know about that one, so I probably would just be in the middle because it is, to say it's not, you can't do that would be hypocritical. Alright, question 3. A socialist restructuring of business is necessary for women to assume equal leadership of men. I don't think you necessarily need socialism to do that. Gender equality could also do that too, so I'd probably be in the middle of that one. Number 4. Since women comprise half of the world's population, it is only natural that women should possess half the world's wealth. No, they shouldn't inherit the wealth because they're women. They have to still earn it. Now, of course, there are a lot of men and a whole bunch of rich people in general that, by and large, don't deserve their wealth either, since it's mostly inheritance, and they should be taxed 100% if they make over $1 billion and all that. But you don't be wealthy just because, oh, I'm a woman, I'm half the population, I deserve it. No, You still gotta earn it, just like the men have to. Alright, number 5. Feminism should be just as much about fighting inequalities based on race, class, age, and religion as it is about fighting inequalities based upon gender. Absolutely. Especially if you're a progressive. Number 6. Men see women as property in the same way they see the environment as a storehouse for natural resources. That's just misandry. I'm sorry. Men? You're saying all men view women as property? Sorry, that's just not true. Not all men do that. See, that's the misandrous framing I'm talking about, where they say something stupid like this. Some men do view you as property. Not all. Like, if you said some men see this, I would actually go all the way to agree, because some do. But when you say just men in general, which implies all of men, including me, no, that's an absolute disagreement. Number 7, the ideal heterosexual relationship is one where the man obtains economic success while the woman looks after the house and the family needs. No, that's not the ideal heterosexual relationship. That could also apply to homosexual couples, too. And there are, families that are not heterosexual relationships, or even just single families that thrive just as well. That's a lot of problem I have with people that keep demonizing single families. You could be fine as a single family as long as you have money. And that can happen. That's why people need to stop demonizing single families. Question 8. It is unbecoming of women when they try to be assertive like men. No. No. That's misogynistic, if anything. It's a bad thing for women to be assertive like men? No. There's nothing wrong with that. There are men that are not assertive. Like, this is... See what I mean? Now it's getting to the misogynistic part, too. It's not unbecoming. It's never unbecoming of women however they want to do, just like men are. Number 9. Office culture is organized around men's oppression of women. No, no, no. Just no. Yes, there are definitely like sexual harassment stuff, but I guarantee you that's not the majority of office culture. Just no, it's not. It's just misandry to assume that. It's not to oppress women. Number 10. Heterosexual is the only natural sexual preference. Now we're getting into homophobia. No! No! Heterosexual is not the only natural sexual preference. Homosexuality exists. Bisexuality exists. Asexuality exists. Then there's trans and other stuff too. So, no. Number 11. As a rule of thumb, women are too emotional to be heads of states. Absolutely not. That's misogynistic. Guys, there are men that are way too emotional. Hell, I'm called way too emotional a lot of times. About like Pokemon monster trucks and stuff. You think I'm too emotional to run a state? Probably so. That doesn't mean women are too emotional. Everyone is too emotional. There are many people, men and women, that are perfectly rational. Stop saying that women are too emotional to be anything. There are many men that are just as emotional, if not more emotional. So let's stop. Number 12. Concepts of sexual orientation such as heterosexuality and homosexuality were largely invented to satisfy male ways of thinking. No. No. It's just the basic thing. It's not invented to satisfy male ways of thinking. I don't think since most men are straight, I don't think most men would satisfy thinking of homosexuality. Unless it's women, of course. But, like, come on, it's not invented. Homosexuality exists, heterosexuality exists, we just explained this a little bit ago. It exists, we have concepts for it. It's not that hard to understand. Number 13. Western feminists should not be meddling in gender equalities related to Islam. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Feminism is needed in the Middle East. Absolutely needed. And it's not racist or whatever you think of. Because a lot of SJWs, I remember back in like 2015, 16, so, said if you criticize Islam's treatment of women, you're like racist, Islamophobic, and all that. No. It's just the right thing to do. Their values are wrong, our values are right, women need to be treated equal, that's final. And fuck Islam if they don't like it. Also fuck Christianity too for how they treat women too historically. And Confucianism in China and all that such. Number 14. Pornography degrades all women by exploiting female sexuality. No. No. You do realize there are many women who want to do pornography, right? Same goes for prostitution. There are women who willingly want to do those things. And it's not degrading. Sex is just a commodity, just like any other thing. Men overwhelmingly are heterosexual, and they overwhelmingly like sex and porn, so they're going to consume it. And since, like I said, heterosexual overwhelmingly, they're going to want to see women. Like, it's not degrading. If it's degrading, then what about men being in pornography? Is it degrading for them? Because if anything, too, pornography. Because I think they'll bring up like the wage argument, how like women make less than men. That is one industry, porn, that men make way less than women. Women make overwhelmingly more money than men. So they're not being exploited. If anything, they're being privileged compared to men in this regard. Number 15. There are only two genders. No. There are not only two genders. Gender is a social construct. You like the what was the term there are 76 genders. Yeah. It's a social construct. You can make up whatever gender you want. Now there's two biological sexes and there's intersex people and stuff like that. But when it comes to genders, that's a social construct. So, no. There aren't only two. There could be multiple. Number 16. Posturing or whatever biological explanations for gender differences is just another way of keeping women down. No. Well, it's both yes and no. A lot of SJWs deny the reality that men and women are different. Like, men are stronger, we're taller, we're bigger, broader shoulders, and stuff like that. And we're just stronger in a lot of ways. A lot of them deny it. Now, what the problem is, and a big reason why SJWs and radical feminists deny it, is because a lot of the people on the right go way too far in the other extent, where they go, yeah, men are stronger than women, therefore women are inferior and need to be put in their place. Like, don't allow them to work like in hardcore, like heavy work and stuff like that, even if they meet the standards, because they're women, therefore they can't do it. So it's like a backlash response to conservatives who go too far in the other direction. And here's the thing, both of you guys are in the wrong. Radical feminists and SJWs and idiots on the left, there are differences between men and women, and men are stronger and stuff like that. But it's also true to the right, you're also wrong to try and force women to do stuff they don't want to, if they don't want to do it. If a woman wants to enlist in the army and they meet all the standards, they should be able to. Same goes for firemen, police, all that such. As long as they meet all the standards, they should be allowed to do it. End of discussion. But of course, they try and stop them from doing it, and that's the problem. Alright, number 17. Women should enter into lesbian relationships as a way to resist patriarchy. Political lesbianism. No! You should enter in a gay relationship if you're gay and you meet a woman who's also gay. That's it. You don't enter into a lesbian relationship. You don't become gay. You are who you are. Like, God, this is just like homophobic too, for crying out loud. Implying that women can choose to be gay or not. No, heterosexuality is not a choice. You are who you are. If you're gay, you're gay. If you're straight, you're straight. If you're bi, you're bi. If you're asexual, you're asexual. It's not a choice. Number 18. The breakdown of the traditional family structure is responsible for many evils in our society. No. The biggest problem is economics and stuff like that. That can be easily fixed without the traditional family structures. Because historically, traditional family structures have been around for quite a while. And there have been many evil things that happen in society too. So it's not traditional family structure is the problem. Number 19. Putting women in the position of power would bring about new modes of government and promote peace. Honestly, no. Just because you're women doesn't mean you're going to be promote peace and new government ideas. Like, just no. Women are not inherently like more like nurturing and peaceful than men. It's just not. So that's silly. Number 20. Using brain imagery to legitimize stereotypical gender roles can never be scientifically justified. No. Because the way I'd interpret it is, this sounds like they would have a problem with looking to like nature and nurture. Like, why do people act the way they are based upon their sexual identity and stuff like that? Like the stereotypical men and women role, stuff like that. Like, that's a big argument with the left and right when it comes to nature versus nurture. Conservatives, by and large, think it's nature. Like, you are who you are. Like, if you're a man, you're into this. If you're a woman, you're into that. Whereas people on the left usually identify with nurture, where, no, it's not you are who you are, but what you are is based upon your environment. Like, you could be a man and into women's things if you grew up in an environment that encourages it and stuff like that, and vice versa. The reality is that It's both. Yes, if you grow up in an environment based upon what you do and what's around you, you'll be more inclined to do that. Like me, for example. I'm a big reason why I'm into monster trucks is because I grew up watching the old 1980s VHS tapes that my dad had. So that was a nurture argument. But why am I into monster trucks still? It's not just because I grew up with them. There's just something about them that I like. And that might be more of me being a man, because men overwhelmingly like monster trucks more than women. So it could be both. And these are people that don't want to acknowledge that. They're more into this poll, this question right here is completely into the nurture camp fully and doesn't embrace the idea maybe nature has a part of it too. Both of you are wrong. It's both. Number 21. Romantic love brainwashes women to subordination. No. Guys, I'm always, every time I look at this, I'm trying to figure out, are they talking about like romantic like genre, like literature, movies, or stuff like that? Or is it the chemical of reaction for love and stuff like that? Like, no. A woman could fall in love and not be automatically brainwashed into subordination. If a woman is subordinate, that's just who she is. There are men who are subordinate too. They're not being brainwashed. They're just being who they are. And there's nothing wrong with it. Number 22. Prostitution grows out of the male culture of violence and the male need to own and possess objects. No. Prostitution exists because, like I said, sex is a commodity that people want to have. There are male prostitutes too, you know. I know they're very rare and people don't want to acknowledge it, on the left specifically, but male prostitutes do exist. So it's not just a woman's thing, for crying out loud, that people keep assuming. And like I said, the overwhelming majority of men are into sex. And since overwhelming majority of men are heterosexual, they want to see women doing sexual things or doing sexual things to women. And that leads to a commodity. Sex is a commodity. And if women willingly choose to prostitute themselves to make money, what's the big deal? Prostitution should be legal. Full stop. Let people consume what they want. Capitalism, remember? Number 23. Racism and sexism combined as a system of double oppression for women of color. Yeah, women of color deal with a lot of things too. Racism and sexism, especially historically in America. The cultural conception that a real man is tough and daring should be replaced by the concept that a real man is caring and compassion. I'm not sure about this one. I don't like the cultural conception about this era because I deal with this a lot. But I don't think we should replace the conception that men should be caring and compassionate either. It should be just be who you are and treat people right and stuff like that. And it's not just men, it's women too. So I'm like in the middle of that. Women of color are oppressed by white standards of beauty. No, they're not. There are people that, like, racial preferences when it comes to, like, being with someone exists. There are people that just want to be with people of different races. It's not inherently wrong. No different than someone not wanting to be with men because they're straight and they're a man and stuff like that. You're not being oppressed. There are other standards of beauty, too. It's not just a white standard of beauty. Number 26. A woman who engages in BDSM with her partner is making herself slave to patriarchy. No. If it's consensual and she wants to do it, that's perfectly fine. It doesn't make you a slave to the patriarchy. And also, what if the woman is the dominant one? Because BDSM means both ways. Dominant or submissive. So, the man could be submissive too, you know. And the woman could be dominant. Like, this is just so one-sided, for God's sake. Number 27. Women should separate into all-female communes as a way to renounce male domination. I mean, if you want to do that, go right ahead. Like, I remember, God, it was like 10 years ago or so, there was some idiotic white supremacists trying to run their own town in one of the Dakotas, I think. It was just an all-white town. Literally, the town was founded just for that, on white people only. I mean, if you want to do it, you're racist, or in this case, you'd be misandrous. I mean, if you want to, go right ahead, but I don't think women should separate. How about no? How about we all be together and stuff like that? But if you want to, I mean, go right ahead. You're not gonna be looked fondly on by people, though, especially me. Number 28. BDSM acts are not just a matter of individual choice, since they are a reenactment of the way white men have historically treated women of color. No, no, no. BDSM is a choice. As long as it's consenting adults, it's a choice, and fuck off if you don't like it. There are people who are into that stuff. Just stop. It has nothing to do with racism. Alright, number 29. Women are generally better people than men. Well, that's misandrous, and no. There are asshole women, there are awesome men. There are asshole men and awesome women. Judge people by individual instead of a collective. Alright. Capitalism is inherently sexist. No, no, no. Capitalism, I keep telling people on the left and the right too, capitalism is amoral. It has no morality. All capitalism cares about is making money. If capitalism can make, capitalists, if they can make one more penny by being like woke, which a lot of corporations are accused by the right of doing, they're going to make that extra penny and be woke in their eyes just to make that extra penny. Likewise, if they can make one extra penny by being misogynistic or whatever, they're going to do it because they want that extra penny. There is no morality to capitalism. It's just make money. That's it. So no, capitalism isn't inherently sexist. It's not sexist at all. It can be in some circumstances. It's also financial incentive to not be at the same time too. So it's not inherently. Number 31. Science views of the universe as a matter to be used as much in the same way as men use women as objects to be used. No, no, just no. Number 32. White feminists are too concerned with empowering themselves and not enough with empowering women of color. Historically, that actually was the case for a lot of like first wave feminists and stuff like that. It was more about giving them the right to vote and fucking over minority women and such. Now, this is somewhat true nowadays, because white feminists are usually more concerned about like their needs more than like minority women's needs, and they don't usually talk about like women overseas, or if they do, they act like, usually a lot of times they'll act like, oh, you're a racist if you criticize Islam for how they treat women. So I'm probably more in the middle on this one. Number 33, using he as a shorthand for he or she is convenient and harmless. I have never, ever, ever heard anyone refer to she as a he as a shorthand. I've never done it. I've never heard that. But if people do that, it is completely harmless. There's nothing wrong with it. If people are okay, if a woman's okay with being called a he or whatever, that's perfectly fine with them. Alright, number 34. Men and women are equally responsible for climate change. Yes. Women are... Especially like women like in America, in the developing world, you're just as responsible for climate change as us men are. It's not us men that are just the reason for climate change. Like, I don't want to hear this crap. It's just, if you say it's more likely men, then congratulations. You're a misandrous and an idiot. Number 35. Climate change and patriarchy are two sides of the same coin. No. Just no. Even if we got rid of we wouldn't get rid of climate change, but even if we combat it, there's going to be patriarchy that exists in a lot of places no matter what. Likewise, even if we got rid of patriarchy, like a lot of societies are not as patriarchal as they used to be. Climate change is still a thing. Climate change is a climate thing and an economic thing because capitalism is a big part of the reason why climate change exists. Patriarchy is a societal thing. They're not the same thing. They're completely separate. You can get rid of one, but the other one is going to be there. So no, even if you got rid of climate change or patriarchy, that does not mean the other one's going to go. They're both going to still possibly exist. Well, in case of patriarchy, climate change would still exist because that's a huge thing that honestly would probably be very difficult to get rid of no matter how much we tried. Number 36. Marriage is a perfect example of men's needs to own and oppress women. No. Now marriage could be, because there are different types of reasons why people marry. A lot of men are not going to marry a woman to oppress her. The majority of marriages nowadays is usually out of love. Historically, this would probably be more the case, but that's not the case always right now, and that does not mean marriage is inherently that. Number 37. A woman could be just as emancipated as a housewife as she could as a CEO. Yeah. This is a lot of problem with a lot of like hardcore feminists have, that they don't like that there are women that want to be like the stereotypical stay-at-home mom and stuff like that. Guys, if women want to do that, that is perfectly their choice, and you should support that. There are women who want to willingly do this stuff, just like there are many women who willingly want to be a prostitute and sell their body for sex and all that. Likewise, there are women who want to be CEOs and work and all that. Either case, if women want to do this willingly, and if they're happy, they deserve 100% support. But of course, a lot of conservatives don't like when women do this stuff. There are a lot of people on the left and hardcore feminists that don't like when women do this. So fuck both of you. Alright, next one. Number 38. It's a man's duty to maintain order in his family. No. No. This is misandrous. It's not our duty as men to maintain order in a family. Just like it's not our duty to protect women from predators and stuff like that. You have to defend yourself too. And also, there are many households where women are matriarchal households that do that. Just like how it is for my family. House is kind of like matriarchal in my house. My mom pretty much does everything. It's not the man's duty, nor should it be. It should be up to the individual person to their own discretion if they want to do that. Number 39. A person can change their gender depending on their mood or social situation they find themselves in. Gender fluid. Nah, this sounds too right-wing for me. Because that's the stupid right-wing hysteria about like transgenderism. Like, oh, it's a fad. People are choosing to do it. No. No. People are who they are. It's not a choice. Like, just get it for your heads. It's just not a choice. People are who they are. That's the end of it. Number 40. Making women economically dependent on men is capitalism's sole way of encouraging an exploitative relationship. No. Capitalism isn't making women dependent of men. That's societal. Women can make money on their own in most circumstances, since most societies probably allow women to work. There are like hardcore like Christian Muslim societies, like in Africa and Asia, that would probably not let women work and stuff like that. But like in the developed world, like America and such, no. Capitalism is not encouraging exploitative relationships. That's societal. Capitalism is all about making money. That's it. I just explained it earlier. Alright, number 41. Anyone who is not a white male is in the same sense... anyone who is not a white male is in some sense oppressed in our society. No. Not everyone who's a non-white man is oppressed. There are many people that are not white that are actually very privileged, like athletes and actors and stuff like that. If you are successful, you can override the racism in American society and thrive. Like, that's the beauty of America. Meritocracy can actually override racism that you would probably experience if you try hard enough. So no, not all non-white males, or anyone that's not a non-white man, faces oppression. A lot of times, a lot of them are also just privileged, especially compared to a lot of poor whites. Number 42. If a country has compulsory military conscription, that conscription should apply to men and women equally. Now, I am against conscription. I think it's wrong and authoritarian. If people want to serve the army, they should be able to do so. But if they don't want to, that is perfectly their choice. Likewise, when Ukraine is wrong to conscript men between 18 and 60 and not let them leave Ukraine when Russia invaded them, they are wrong to do that. Now, another problem I have with conscription historically is that it's usually misandrous. That it applies to men, and never applies to women. So, that's a big problem I also have with conscription. Now, as much as I'm against conscription, if it also applies to women too, that definitely is a lot more fair. So, in this regard, even though I want conscription banned everywhere because I think it's authoritarian and wrong, if women applies to it, at least in this regard, that is right. Although, it should be no conscription period, but if there's going to be conscription, us men got to do it, women should too. Saying that some groups are naturally better than others at something is more about the needs of the privileged to justify their privilege than is more accurate reflection of reality. Saying that... I actually don't even remember this question, honestly. Saying that some groups are naturally better than others at something is more about the needs of the privileged to justify their privilege than more reaction reality. I probably would agree with that. I'm just a little confused about that question because I do not remember seeing that one. Insofar as there is a God, it is more likely to choose a female than male. Well, as an atheist, I think it's all this religion crap is bullshit, but there are religions that have a male God, a female god, a genderless god. So, it could be either one. What god are you talking about? Like, what god are you talking about? I get a feeling that it might be talking about, like, Christianity. Which, in that case, the Christian god is usually, perceived as a man. But there are other religions that say their god is female and all that. So, I'm just neutral on it. I don't really care. I think it's all stupid. Market economics unfairly favor the skill and abilities of men. No. Just no. It values whoever does the skills. There are women who can also have a lot of skills too. Be it even physical labor, women can also be just as good at physical labor as men too, because that's usually like the big problem, because women aren't as strong usually as men. But women can be strong enough to do it. It's just not going to be as common. But there are other non-physical labor that you could do. There's jobs that overwhelmingly are women's jobs, and it's actually the reverse, where it's harder for men to get in, like nursing, daycare, and stuff like that. So it's not market economically unfavor the abilities of men. Capitalism, like I said, is amoral. All it cares about is making money. That's it. Number 46. The personalities and behaviors of women and men in our society have developed to fit the needs of advanced capitalism. Again, no. Capitalism has nothing to do with this. Capitalism, amoral. All it cares about is money. It's not the same as societal. How personalities affect men and women, that's a personal thing, that's societal. It has nothing to do with capitalism. Number 47. Women cannot truly be themselves while they are living in a society run by men. No. Men don't always run society. Women are half the population too, usually, in most cases. They also play a part in that society too. Women can be themselves in a men's society, just like men can be themselves in women's societies. This is just stupid. Number 48. Beautiful, young, and thin women are complicit in the oppression of other women if they use these qualities to obtain preferential treatment from men. I wouldn't say they're oppressing you, but they are using their beauty, young and thin, privileges, because being considered attractive is a privilege that most women have over men. That's another thing women have over men. Society views them more as attractive than us men, and they're able to get away with it more, just like in porn, modeling, stuff like that. So women can use their beauty to get preferential treatment stuff from men, because men are a lot of times suckers for that. I don't know if I would say I wouldn't say they're oppressing you. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a good thing either they're doing this, but hey, that's an advantage they have that, like, usually us men don't. So I don't know about this one, probably in the middle. Number 49, capitalism nudges women to replace men's needs ahead of their own. Again, no. Capitalism is amoral. How many times I gotta explain this? Capitalism is amoral. All it cares about is making money. That's it. If the only thing that nudges women to place men's needs ahead of their own is societal. That's it. Number 50. Gender roles are part of a larger patriarchal system of power which seeks to keep women down. Yes, but like I said, there are women who do want to do those stereotypical gender roles. Like, people need to accept that and understand that, and just accept it for what it is. Alright, when people speak of sexual assault and violent crimes among minorities, they must approach these topics sensitively, lest they risk marginalizing women of color too. No. This honestly sounds like this sounds like the same stupid crap that hardcore, like, feminists and SJWs just say, like, oh, if you're like a white person, you can't really talk about this shit because you don't understand and stuff like that. No, you don't need to be part of a oppressed group to understand their concerns and not outreach, what's the word I'm looking for? Talk about them and support them and stuff like that. You don't need to be part of that group to do that. Likewise, you don't need to be a minority woman that was a victim of violent crime or a sexual assault to support them and help support them. Like, just stop. Number 52, it's not possible to be feminist and right-wing. Personally, I would agree with this. Like, it's irreconcilable, especially in America, to be a feminist and a conservative, because conservatism is fundamentally against women's rights. But there are people who are right-wing but think women should be treated better. treated good. It's rare in America because most right-wingers in America are fucking retarded, but this does exist. So, on the one hand, I would like to agree with this personally because I do think this. I gotta disagree because that does exist. It's just very rare. Number 53, the oppression of the environment. The oppression of the environment is done through pollution and industrialization mirrors the oppression of women in society. No. Now, if you said minorities instead, I actually would probably agree with this more because historically, and still is the case in America, industrialization, pollution stuff would go towards minority areas, so they would deal with the pollution compared to white affluent suburbs and stuff like that. But here's the reality still in the end. Pollution, climate change, and all that affects all of us. It doesn't just affect women more. Number 54. The love between two women is purer than a love relationship between a woman and a man. No. 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 Two women love each other are no purer than a love between a man and a woman or two men or whatever you do. It's not pure. It's just stupid to think that. And now, off to the next question. Assuming that all women have vaginas, it's just another way of keeping women in line with the men think they should be. Well, not all women have that. Not all women have that. And I don't think it's a way of men keeping women in line of thinking what they should be. So, no. This is just a stupid question. Women should have the freedom to sell sex if they want. Absolutely. Yep, like I was saying earlier. And it's not just women, too. Men should, too. If people want to sell their body for sex, they should be perfectly allowed to do so. It's just a commodity like anything else. Men prevent women from becoming political leaders through their control of economic and political institutions. No. I mean, we literally just had... We have a woman vice president. We almost had a woman president who should have won if we got rid of the Electoral College with Hillary, remember? Women can become political leaders, and men aren't preventing it. The only thing that's preventing women from becoming political leaders, at least in America, it's either them not wanting to do it, or if they do it, the voters don't want them in power. Like, there's a reason why Hillary didn't win, besides the Electoral College, because she was overwhelmingly hated, so much so that people voted for Trump over her because they didn't want her to win so badly. Like, in the end, the women have to want to do it, and then they have to convince voters to vote with them. I mean, to vote for them and stuff like that. It has nothing to do with men controlling the economic and political institutions to prevent them from doing so. Alright, number 58. Women who have been lesbian at one point but have transitioned to bi or heterosexual are generally victims of anti-feminist backlash. Because, on the one hand, this actually has happened. I have seen this where it's not a transition. You don't choose to be gay and stuff like that, and all of a sudden you're bi or heterosexuality. If a woman was gay, and then they transitioned to bi, or heterosexuality, well, it's more likely to be bi, because bisexuality is on a spectrum too. There are bisexuals who literally will go either way, depending on what they can get. But there are some bisexuals who are more likely to be inclined to one sex over the other. So, it's possible that this lesbian woman could be just bi. Either they're bi and overwhelming. It sounds like they'd probably be bi and more likely towards women or more likely towards men, but still would be with women. So, it wouldn't be that they're heterosexual. They're most likely bi and on a spectrum. Because, like I said, you don't choose to be... You don't choose at one point, oh, I'm gay, and all of a sudden next week, oh, I'm heterosexual, stuff like that. You're just who you are. If you're into women, if you're a woman into women, you're gay. If you're a woman that's into women and men, you're bi. And depending on what spectrum you are, you could be either or you could be more inclined to the other one or the other. Or if you're a woman that's into men, you're heterosexual. But I have seen this anti-feminist backlash stuff like that, so I'm more in the middle. Number 59. Women have a special bond with nature and the environment that most men are blind to. No. 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 Women are not inherently better at combating climate change than men. Like, this is just stupid. And finally, last one. Feminism has focused too much on the status of women who are white and well-educated, not enough on the struggles of women of color. First wave feminists? Yes. Especially in America. I don't know about right now, so I'd probably be more in the middle. Alright, here we go. We finally finished it. So here we go. And there's my feminist perspective test, as I, just like I took before, overwhelmingly a liberal feminist. 55% I'm an intersectional feminism that recognizes racism, sexism, and class struggles in between. And then the next one, I'm 38% women of color feminism, because minority women do face a lot of other problems too that a lot of feminism did not really combat historically. Postmodern feminism, if I remember correctly, they're somewhat of the sillier people, which the fact I'm 29% close to them is kind of scary. Cultural feminism, not exactly sure what that even is. And socialist feminism, so this is funny. I'm 18% equally a socialist feminist and a conservative non-feminist. What? I'm like on the opposite perspectives. 14% radical feminists, that's cringe, because radical feminists are usually misandrous and stupid. 8% lesbian feminism, I don't like political lesbianism, I think it's deeply problematic. And 4% ecofeminism, yeah, that would make sense, I'm low on that one, because feminism does not have to, that's right, most of the questions were either said that women are more inclined to help combat climate change, or blamed like misogyny on capitalism, stuff like that. Like, no, women are not inherently better at fighting against climate change, nor is capitalism the problem of society's problems. It's just an economic system. That's it. All right. So yeah, silly quiz, but I went and did it. Hope y'all, if you ever want to do it, there's the link up there if you want to check that out. So now with that out of the way, it's on to finally the next topic, as that took such a long time to do. Alright, so our next up on the list is Idaho wants to ban interstate abortion travel. So, of course, as we all know, Roe v. Wade last year was overturned, and now every state has their own choice on how to legislate abortion and all that. Now, of course, Idaho, already going not far enough, apparently, trying to ban abortion. They want to ban people traveling like Washington State and other states if they want to get an abortion, which is none of their business, and I don't even know how you can even stop that. How do you know where people are leaving the state for and stuff like that? So, yeah, absolutely stupid. So, let's go watch Kyle's video on.
So here we have an incredibly dystopian and authoritarian to become the first state to restrict interstate travel for abortion. A bill would create a whole new crime dubbed abortion trafficking, which aims to limit minors' ability to travel for abortion care without parental consent. Okay, so...
And knowing this, I'm sure it would actually do it for parents who do consent too, because I don't trust these stupid pro-life fuckers.
Let's go through this here. I'll tell you up front what they're doing, because this whole idea is illegal. You can't, in the United States of America, you can't say, we're going to ban you from going to another state to do something that's illegal in that state. You can't do that.
And the thing is, how can they even do that? Like, how do they know what you're doing? How would people know? How would the state of Idaho know that someone's leaving the state to go somewhere so they can get an abortion? Like, how would they even know that? It's a personal, private thing that people are probably not going to just say out loud. Like, how would they even know to stop in the first place?
Because then there is no United States of America. Each state would be acting like their own little country, effectively. So you can't do that. So what they try to do is get clever to find a way around it, to criminalize crossing state lines to get an abortion while not explicitly saying it. So here, I'll walk you through it. They say Idaho already has some of the most extreme abortion restrictions on the books, with nearly all abortions banned in the state and an affirmative defense law that essentially asserts any doctor who provides an abortion is guilty until proven innocent. Jesus Christ, that's so authoritarian. And now Idaho Republicans have set their sights on hindering certain residents from traveling out of state to get an abortion. House Bill 242, which passed through the state house and is likely to move quickly through the Senate, seeks to limit minors' ability to travel for abortion care without parental consent. The legislation would create a whole new crime dubbed abortion trafficking, which is defined in the bill as an adult who, with the intent to conceal an abortion from the parents or guardian of a pregnant, unemancipated minor, either procures an abortion or obtains an abortion-inducing drug. for the minor. Recruiting, harboring, or transporting the pregnant minor within this state commits the crime of abortion trafficking, the legislation adds. Abortion trafficking would be a felony, and those found guilty would face 2 to 5 years in prison. The legislation also includes a statute allowing the Idaho Attorney General to supersede any local prosecutor's decision, preemptively thwarting any prosecutor who vows not to enforce such an extreme law.
Fuck you.
Since
if
the
you
bill
do
would
that.
criminalize anyone transporting a pregnant minor within the state to get an abortion or to obtain medication abortion, it could apply to an aunt who drives a pregnant minor to the post office to pick up a package that includes abortion pills. Jesus Christ.
So I think it sounds like it would not even necessarily have to leave the state to do that. And really, you're going to be against a minor having an abortion. They're physically not capable to have a kid safely. They could possibly die for it. From it. Like, come on. This is just barbaric.
Or it could target an older sibling who drives a pregnant minor to a friend's house to self-manage an abortion at home. Either violation would carry a minimum sentence of 2 years in prison. The legislation doesn't actually say anything about crossing state lines, but Republican lawmakers are creative. Most pregnant people in Idaho are not traveling to obtain an abortion elsewhere in the state, since nearly all abortions are illegal in Idaho. They're traveling to the border with the intent of crossing state lines, likely into Washington, Oregon, or Montana, to get an abortion there. Quote, technically, they're not criminalizing people driving in Washington state with a minor. The crime is the time that someone is driving the minor in Idaho, said David Cohen, a law professor at Philadelphia's Drexel University, whose work focuses on constitutional law and abortion policy. They're going to say what they're doing is just criminalizing actions that take place completely within Idaho, but in practice, what they're criminalizing is the person helping the minor. Cohen, who also litigates abortion-related cases with the Women's Law Project nonprofit, told HuffPost. Wow.
Absolutely barbaric.
So they're getting creative, they're getting clever, and they're doing it to try to cut off any avenue whatsoever for an abortion. Guys, when they talk about even banning the abortion medication, that is psychotic. We're talking about, with a lot of these medications, it's super early in the pregnancy. So basically what they're saying is, whether you're a zygote or a gamete or a pregestation fetus, like all of it's illegal to try to snuff it out. It's illegal to say we're going to terminate this super early on. This is so authoritarian, man. It's amazing. These are the same people who pretend like they believe in freedom, and then this is a huge restriction on freedom. State Representative Barbara Ehart, Ahard? I have no idea how to pronounce it.
Good job,
Barbara
Kyle.
Ahart, one of the sponsors of the abortion trafficking bill, said plainly that the intent of the legislation is to limit minors' ability to travel out of state without parental consent. Quote, it's already illegal to get an abortion here in the state of Idaho, so it would be taking that child across the border, and if that happens without the permission of the parent, that's where we'll be able to hold accountable those that would subvert a parent's right.
Fuck the parents' consent in this regard. If the child wants an abortion, they should get it. End of discussion. We don't need a situation like that kid in, what was it, Ohio, that had to go to Indiana to get an abortion. She was freaking raped as a 10-year-old? Absolutely not. Fuck you. Minors that need to get an abortion, they get it. End of fucking discussion.
In the past, a bill like this would have been brushed aside as political fodder, never to become law, but Idaho has seen a Christian white nationalist insurgency in recent years, helping to create a legislature that's quickly gone down the far-right rabbit hole, including by introducing legislation that would bring back firing squad executions or make it a crime punishable by life in prison for a parent to get gender-affirming care for their child.
Life imprisonment for being a good parent that helps your trans kid transition. Think about how insane that is, guys. These people are authoritarian bigots that would do nothing better in the world than just dying. Fucking evil.
Transgender child. By the way, that is true. Idaho is like the haven of white nationalists, and there's been many attempts to create like these little white nationalist fiefdoms there. And apparently it's working. So this is the most extreme abortion law I've seen yet to this point, and you guys know there's been a lot of extreme abortion laws that have been passing, especially in the wake of Roe versus Wade being overturned. And this is going to have devastating consequences, man. It really is. Think about how much of a giant overreach this is. Like, they're trying to make it so you can't even go to another state to get an abortion. That's the gist of it. So, like, then that leads to the question, okay, what if somebody moves out of Idaho, picks up residence in another state, and then gets some sort of abortion procedure after that? Would Idaho try to go after them for that too? Right? Because at one point you were an Idaho resident, even if you weren't when you decided to get the... I don't know. This is crazy, man. This is crazy. But they've really cranked up the extremism in recent years. And look, I will say that at a national level, this is going to lead to consequences. It really is. Because remember, they had the vote. I think it was in Kansas. Was it Missouri or Kansas? I think it was Kansas. Super red state. They had a vote on abortion rights. And in a direct vote, people said, we're pro-abortion rights. And so the far right is really overreaching with a lot of these laws, and there's going to be consequences for it. If you want to see me and Crystal...
So yeah, absolutely disgusting and wrong for Idaho to try this. Fuck you if you support this. It's authoritarian and disgusting. And I hope it fails. Alright, so now on to the next topic. Bernie destroys Howard Schultz. So of course, Howard Schultz, if I remember correctly, he's the CEO of Starbucks, and he did some very illegal things we found out over the last 2 years or so. Because remember, we covered this on the show. The last 2 years has had a massive resurgence of labor rights and labor unions in America. Much to the chagrin of rich fucks like Howard Schultz, who tried to illegally prevent Starbucks workers from unionizing. And Bernie, being the based old man he is, just destroyed Howard Schultz. He ripped him a new asshole, so let's watch him do it.
Sanders, as you all know by now, is the head of the Help Committee, and he's using his authority to try to hold accountable corporate criminals, for lack of a better term. So he's now doing a hearing on Howard Schultz, who, of course, is the CEO of Starbucks, and he's a massive union buster. So he had Howard Schultz subpoenaed to come in to testify, and I'm going to show you some of the clips from that here. So first, I want to go to a Starbucks worker who tells the story of what went on once they started trying to unionize.
We were disciplined for minor things that happened in the store, like being written up for being 2 minutes late, which had never happened before. Terminations increased too. A partner who experienced sexual harassment from one of our managers was terminated after reporting it.
Yeah, that's actually a very common thing too. People reporting sexual assault, they're the ones that get fired instead. How convenient.
They held captive audience meetings, they called them one-on-ones, for us to have all of the facts. But the partners were outnumbered every time. In these meetings, partners were being threatened with losing their benefits if they joined the union. We were disciplined for minor things that happened in the store.
So that's just a little taste of what went on. They really dropped the hammer once they started to unionize and started doing these underhanded tricks trying to block the union.
That are illegal.
Now that takes me to Bernie. This was in his opening statement.
Destroyed you.
He really unloaded on Howard Schultz and sort of listed a bunch of the stuff that's been going down.
Over the past 18 months, Starbucks has waged the most aggressive and illegal union-busting campaign in the modern history of our country. That union-busting campaign has been led by Howard Schultz, the multi-billionaire founder and director of Starbucks, who is with us this morning only under the threat of subpoena. Let us be clear
Look
at his face. Look at his face. You know that's accurate. You know that's accurate, Howard Schultz. Why are you shaking your head no?
Shit,
of
Schultz.
Starbucks' vicious anti-union efforts. The National Labor Relations Board, NLRB, has filed over 80 complaints against Starbucks for violating federal labor law.
Wow.
There have been over 500 unfair labor practice charges lodged against the company, and judges have found that Starbucks broke the law 130 times across 6 states
Get 'em, Bernie,
since workers
get
began
'em.
organizing in the fall of 2021.
Wow.
These violations include the illegal firing of more than a dozen Starbucks workers for the crime of exercising their right to form a union and to collectively bargain for better wages, benefits, and working conditions. Since the first Starbucks union was certified more than 450 days ago in Buffalo, workers at more
Which we
than
covered too, by the way.
360 stores across 40 states have held union elections.
Awesome.
83% of these elections have resulted in a union victory, and today nearly 300 Starbucks coffee shops employing more than 7,000 workers have a union, despite Starbucks' aggressive anti-union efforts. But with nearly 300 shops voting to form a union, Starbucks has refused to sign a single first contract with the union. Not a single one. Think about that.
Can you imagine if we had Bernie as president, peoples? We had this opportunity twice. Please, Bernie, run next year. Please. We need you, please.
Wow. Wow. See, now Howard Schultz is in a tough position for this very simple reason. If he's going to be honest, he's going to go out there and say, yeah, we've been trying to bust up the union. We've been trying to not allow unions. We've been trying to retaliate back against the unions that have been created. But if he's being open and honest and upfront about it, he would be admitting to crimes. He'd be admitting to being a criminal and committing crimes. So he's in a weird position because he oftentimes wants to say what he thinks, and he does say what he thinks, but then he has to reel it in because he's like, oh, violated federal law again. So let's finish this, and then I'll give you the best Howard Schultz moment.
Think about a multi-billion-dollar company with unlimited resources, with all kinds of lawyers, advisors, consultants, and yet they have not yet signed one contract with any of their nearly 300 unionized shops.
Okay. So now, man, this moment, dude, Howard, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? So he's going to get all up in his fifis about Bernie had gone after him. He's a greedy billionaire, right? Classic Bernie stuff.
Sensitive.
He's correct, as
Baby
usual.
need a bottle.
Then here's Howard Schultz's response.
This monarch of billionaire, let's just get at that, okay? I grew up in federally subsidized housing. Let me finish. I grew up in federally subsidized housing. My parents never owned a home. I came from nothing.
Oh,
I thought my entire life was based on the achievement of the American dream. Yes, I have billions of dollars. I earned it. No one gave it to me.
You earned it. You earned it. You earned it. Howard, nobody earns billions of dollars. And Howard, we don't live in a meritocracy. It's not, the harder you work, the further you go, and the more money you make. If that was the case, a lot of your hard-working Starbucks employees would be worth a lot more than they are right now. See, the problem is, if what you're saying is true, when you grew up in a lower middle income family or even a poor family, and then now you're in the position you're in and you're still trying to union bust, well, then you're the traitor. You're a class traitor. And not in the good direction where somebody who's wealthy and been wealthy all their life ends up fighting for working class people. You are a class traitor in the opposite way, where you came from poverty, you know what it's like, and then you said, screw these people anyway, I crossed the bridge and now I'm going to burn it behind me. Mm-hmm. So, he really did the whole pity the poor billionaire routine, bro. He really did the pity the poor billionaire routine while testifying in front of Congress. Dog, this isn't one of your cocktail parties. This isn't, at the country club after a nice round of 18 where you're sitting around with your buddies who are also worth billions of dollars. You think this is going to fly, son? You think this is landing with your average person? If you really have so much sympathy because you came from the lower classes, then allow the unions, negotiate in good faith, pay them well.
I've shared it constantly with the people of Starbucks. And so anyone who keeps labeling this billionaire thing is...
Mr. Schultz, I don't mean to cut you off. We have time limits here, and you have the opportunity. I'm not cutting you off.
It's your moniker constantly. It's unfair.
No, it is not. You have had more...
It is literally factually accurate. It's factually accurate. Get over it.
I've been generous with the time. I'm sorry.
But Mr. Chairman...
We have a room full of people. We have a panel to go after you. You're not the only person testifying.
Okay. So understand what happened here. He jumped in to whine and play the victim as he talks about his billions of dollars. And Bernie let him go over his time and he cut him off. By the way, just so you know, all the Republicans on this panel were abysmal. They were all like coddling Howard Schultz's nutsack.
No
They were all
surprise.
giving him a smooth hand job. Rand Paul, when they went to him, you know what his first thing he did was? He read a quote of an Ayn Rand character to talk about how entrepreneurs are
cunt.
underappreciated. Mitt Romney said a similar thing. These people are ridiculous.
They're whoremongers.
Ridiculous. So the Republicans were all coming to his defense, which should tell you everything you need to know, right? Here you have a guy who's phenomenally wealthy, and he's a union buster, and he's violating federal law in the process. They should crack down on him, and solidarity with the unions. I hope they get a good contract. I hope they get pay raises. I hope they get better benefits, more vacation time. Because you know what? Starbucks can afford it. Howard Schultz can afford it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, but it's true. And I hope that this wave of unionization keeps sweeping across the country and more places get unionized because, look, the proof is in the pudding, man. When you look at the numbers, when we had a more unionized workforce, we had the strongest middle class we've ever had. And you mix that with good redistributive policies, so you tax the wealthy more and redistribute with social programs, that's how you get a thriving country. That's how you get a thriving country. So, there you have it. All right, guys.
So yeah, Bernie destroying Howard Schultz, make him cry and bleed from his pussy and all that. Absolutely awesome. And yes, we need unions in America. It's not debatable. And the rich need to be taken down a peg. They don't deserve all their wealth. And it needs to be spread around to help build up America to be awesome again. Alright, so now, on to the next topic. Civil war in Sudan? So, of course, for all of you who don't know, Sudan is a country in East Africa. It's right above the Horn of Africa, too. It used to be bigger, but then in 2011, South Sudan broke away in a democratic succession. So, Sudan has been in a really bad situation for a long time with the war in Darfur and all that, and a whole bunch of human rights crap and all that stuff. And, of course, the last few years, they've been trying to transition to a democracy, which, from what I looked up, was supposed to finish in 2026. But unfortunately, that seems to hit a bit of a snag lately, as just recently, the capital of Sudan suffered a massive attack, if I could find it again, because it was not difficult to find this when I was looking up the other day, unfortunately. I'm having a hard time finding it again. So difficult. Because recently... I wish the Wikipedia article would just load up. Here we go. Why couldn't you just load up Wikipedia? Anyways, oh boy, this map got really big. So anyways, just a week ago, the 2023 Sudan conflict broke out, where parts of the Sudan, from what I've read up, it seems to be parts of the Sudan military separated to become called the Rapid Support Forces, that actually are being supported by the Wagner Group, which is Russia's paramilitary group. So instead of killing Ukrainians, now they're going to help overthrow the Sudan government, apparently. As here is the map right now. All this in red is Sudan, and all that in green is this civil war strife break, and such right there. That just risen up in the last week or so, as boy is it huge. Absolutely huge. Massive, civil war breaking out. Now, it seems to be, from what I read, that the Sudanese military is starting to take back territory, as we see a whole bunch of areas, highlighted and such, which shows, the fighting going on, stuff like that. Would be nice if I could find, a change in the map so I could see how much it's changed. Oh, maybe there's something right... no, it's not gonna help me whatsoever. So, yeah. let's see, read up the Wikipedia about it. The history of the conflicts in Sudan has consisted of ethnic tensions, religious disputes, and competition over resources. In its modern history, 2 civil wars between the central government and the southern region killed 1.5 million people, and a continued conflict in the western region of Darfur has displaced 2 million people and has killed more than 200,000 people. Yeah, like I mentioned it earlier, they had ethnic tensions with like southern part of Sudan that eventually led to them breaking away in 2011 when they became their own country and all that. And Sudan's been pretty much a military dictatorship for its entire for I think almost its entire existence, and they're trying to become democratic. Then unfortunately they had a coup in, oh, here we go. Yeah, they had a military dictatorship for a long time. Then Omar Bashir, the military dictator recently in Sudan, was overthrown in 2019 and was led in charge by the military that was going to lead to a transition to democracy that was going to finish in 2026. However, as we lead up the Rapid Support Force right here, the RSF is a paramilitary organization with roots in, I don't know what that is, militias operating in the Darfur Wars. It is formally created by President Bashir in 2013. So yeah, it seems the Rapid Support Forces is like a remnant sect of the former Sudan president's paramilitary groups that's probably trying to overthrow the government to install like themselves back in power and stuff like that. Yeah, right up right here. Clashes took out recently. So yeah, it's obviously like a massive civil war in between the militaries of Sudan. And boy, has it been pretty bad. Hundreds of, let me go look at it again. At least 413 Sudanese were killed. Almost 3,600 were wounded. And this map, I have no idea how much it changed, but that's pretty bad for Sudan for that much of it to be taken over just that quickly. Ugh, that's not looking good. So, yeah. And, of course, the RSF captured a bunch of Egyptian troops, which made Egypt very angry. And they're actually considering maybe helping Sudan get rid of them. America, South Korea, Japan, other countries that had, like, diplomats in Sudan are actually considering sending, like, expedition troops to protect the embassy and get embassy staff out and stuff like that from what I read up. So here we go, Egypt and all that. Yeah. Reading all this up. Oh yeah, Ethiopia might have a little bit of a problem with this because Ethiopia and Sudan have a problem with each other, just like Egypt and Ethiopia have a problem with each other over the dam that Ethiopia's been constructed and stuff like that. And Sudan also has a problem with that too. As reading this all up. See if there's any oh yeah, the African Union. The African Union could possibly intervene too, which African Union is basically the EU of Africa, and they have militarily involved themselves in problems in Africa. Back in 2017, I can't remember, the Gambia? It was a country in West Africa that they had a presidential election. The guy who lost refused to leave, and the African Union actually had countries intervene and invade the Gambia, or whatever country it was, to kick that president out so they actually can have democracy work and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if the African Union does something about it, because they actually have teeth and they will use it if they so need to do. So, yeah. This is an unfortunate situation, but from what it sounds like, with the SDF being remnants of Omar Bashir's paramilitary group, who was the dictator of Sudan before, being supported by the Wagner group, which is not good. Well, not led, but supported by the Wagner group, and overthrowing the government, which is trying to form democratization, trying to democratize. I hope the Sudan military wins. I don't think it's really I think it's pretty clear you probably should support Sudan in this one. And hopefully, from what I read up, they might be turning around right now, but we'll see. Maybe try and keep an eye on it in the future. Just hope Sudan gets through this and becomes an actual democracy, which it needs to be. Like a whole bunch of Africa really needs to catch up in that regard. Alright, so now, on to the next topic. The U.S. military leak. So, I think this actually happened before the last episode, but it was too recent or whatever, so we didn't cover it. So recently, there was a leak in the U.S. military from someone who was in the Army, and they leaked it on a Discord server for gaming like a whole month ago, and it wasn't found out till just recently, and America freaked out about it. They eventually found out who it was, and they arrested him, and he's probably going to be in prison for a very long time, so I hope he enjoyed doing that. Now, of course, what was the reason he did this for? Because this reminded me a lot, because it was brought up about, like, how Edward Snowden released documents about how America was spying on everyone in the world 10 years ago. Now, for the reason why it was done, it was not because of some noble whistleblowing like Snowden did. It was because the guy wanted to get attention and to gloat and all that, and to boast. It wasn't like an actual good reason to do it, so that's not going to really help your cause whatsoever. Now, what was said in these documents now that they're leaked? Because this stuff we should know, and now we do know, so what was it about? Now, don't fully remember all of it, but from what I remember, it was mostly about the Russo-Ukraine war, since America's supporting it. It detailed supplies and logistics sent into Ukraine. It said casualties that Russia and Ukraine suffered, and from what it read, I believe it was actually forged the numbers where it made it look like Russia only suffered like 17,000 casualties in total, which is way lower than realistically. I mean, we saw the Kyiv Independent in Ukraine says they killed up to almost 200,000 casualties. Now, of course, we shouldn't believe that number, because you shouldn't believe Russia and Ukraine on either side when it comes to the conflict for morale reasons. But yeah, it was massively lower than a lot of other countries estimated. And it said that Ukraine took like 70-something thousand casualties, which is absolutely ridiculous. Russia has invaded Ukraine for a year. There is no way, no how, that Russia has suffered way less casualties than Ukraine. It's going to either be they're suffering the exact same, close to the exact same amount, or Russia's having significantly more, because usually the attacker is going to take more casualties than the defender. So I don't believe this number, and from what I remember hearing, it was probably forged and stuff like that. So who knows the exact number? Another thing it talked about was it revealed that America was spying on the Ukraine's government. It also was spying on South Korea, I believe it was, to see if they're going to actually do production of artillery shells for Ukraine. It spied on Egypt, and I believe it revealed that Egypt was actually giving arms to Russia or something like that, which is very unbased if that's true, although I find it a little hard to believe as well. It revealed that America was spying on a whole bunch of other countries too, which of course is no surprise, as the Snowden documents revealed 10 years ago, that America is spying on everyone, which they shouldn't. And there were a couple other things too that won't come off the top of my head and stuff like that. So yeah, this is a mix of stuff that we already knew, some things that did not need to be revealed necessarily because it didn't matter that much and stuff like that. And a lot of the media, well, not the media is overwhelmingly against the person who leaked it, just like they were against Edward Snowden and stuff like that. But people were like trying to hardcore defend this guy like he was like Edward Snowden. And from what I've seen, it really does not seem to be the case that he deserves this much defense. When Edward Snowden leaked was stuff that we should know, and stuff that America should not be doing, like spying across the world. They do not have the valid justification to do so, and it's illegal by even America's Constitution. So that we should have known. That leak should have happened, and should never have been classified. We need to know this stuff, and America needs to be prevented from spying on American people in the first place. And just like they should be spying, especially on allies too, for no reason whatsoever. That's also illegal. But the rest of this just does not really seem like something that deserves like incredible praise. Like, oh, they're censoring him, they're going after him like Snowden. No, it just does not really seem to be the case whatsoever. It seems to be just some idiot who wanted to gloat and stuff like that, and end up biting off more than they could chew. So yeah, I don't think we really should be defending this guy. It has nothing, did not really expose anything that was of real value. Alright, so then on to the next stuff. Stupid conservatives rage at Mr. Beast being based. So of course, we covered this a few months ago, where a whole bunch of idiots on the left had a meltdown over Mr. Beast using capitalism to help people get their vision back, and they went after him for no reason whatsoever. Well, now the conservatives are going after him for honestly an even stupider reason than the left did. And why are they going after him? Because he has a trans friend, and of course, the right are transphobic bigots that can't accept that. So yeah, they're coping very hard.
So a couple of weeks ago, we talked about how Chris Tyson from Mr. Beast's videos, also a longtime friend of Mr. Beast, recently came out as gender non-conforming. And the response from Chris's friends, all part of Mr. Beast's videos, including Mr. Beast himself, was incredibly wholesome. They all showered Chris with love and adoration and said that they support them throughout this journey unconditionally. And it was just a very human thing to see. Right-wingers, of course, took issue with that, and it has led to a bunch of videos being posted by transphobes where they sort of try to concern troll over Chris and about the impact that their trans identity is going to have on Mr. Beast.
I find it funny, too, because I'm sure these were the same people that praised Mr. Beast month or so ago when they had that controversy with the left, after him helping people get their vision back. I bet they were praising him very much, too, for doing it. Now, all of a sudden, the tables flipped.
Let me give you one example of that. So, YouTuber Rellan tweeted out about Sunny V2 and a video that they posted where they basically just weirdly concern troll over Chris Tyson coming out as trans, arguing Chris will soon be a nightmare for Mr. Beast, because the argument is that it'll cost Mr. Beast financially due to a lack of support because transphobes won't want to watch the video. The video itself was dog shit. I didn't watch the whole thing, but it was bad. Now, in response to this, Relevant writes, this new Sunny V2 video really feels invasive for all the wrong reasons. Like, why did you make this? You delved into the man's marriage and shit. It just really is off-putting and unnecessary. Now, this actually prompted Mr. Beast's response saying, yeah, this is getting absurd. Chris isn't my nightmare. He's my fucking friend, and things are fine. All this transphobia is starting to piss me off. And that's just one of many examples. If you log on to TikTok, there's bizarre videos where people are trying to overanalyze the interactions between Mr. Beast and Chris, and they're trying to make it seem as if Chris is making Mr. Beast feel uncomfortable by sitting too closely to him. It's just very weird. Like, you can tell that these transphobes are trying to pit Chris against Mr. Beast, but these two individuals are longtime friends. And to try to drive them apart really shows how deranged and obsessed transphobes are. But notice something. Mr. Beast, he hasn't suddenly changed his content and become some vocal trans activist with his YouTube account. Like, he's not using his massive YouTube channel to say, hey everyone, you should support trans rights. He's simply being a normal person by saying, I support my trans friend. But even that is too far for bigots, because to remain pure in their eyes, really what Mr. Beast has to do is unequivocally reject his friend despite their years of friendship. And since Mr. Beast is not doing that, well, right-wingers are melting down. Ollie London, for example, claimed it was wrong to call YouTubers concern trolling about Chris transphobic, but it's not wrong. It's accurate, and these YouTubers and these content creators who are trying to profit off of this are talking about really personal family issues with Chris that they're not privy to. Like, they're not privy to the reason why Chris got a divorce. They don't know about these things, but they're speculating because they're trying to drive transphobia. Now, also Elijah Schaefer disingenuously claims that Mr. Beast misgendered Chris, but Chris has not designated new pronouns, and currently they claim that they go by any and all pronouns. But you can see how they're really trying to pit Mr. Beast against his friend here. Now, also right-wing fuckface Steven Crowder dedicated an entire live stream to Mr. Beast's response, accusing him of shoving the trans agenda on children. And chief transphobe himself, Matt Walsh, accused Mr. Beast of selling out to the, quote, trans cult. So you can see that they're not taking kindly to Mr. Beast not denouncing his own friend. But it's a little bit ironic that a Christian nationalist like Matt Walsh would accuse everyone else of being in a cult. But I want to remind you again that all of this hysteria is based on him simply remaining friends with someone who came out as trans. That's why they're so upset. Now let's watch a little bit of Matt Walsh's video just so you get a sense of how obsessed and deranged these fucking freaks are.
And now that he's gone down this road, there's really no coming back. You can expect much more pro-trans content from Mr. Beast going forward, which means that if you're a parent and you allow your child to watch Mr. Beast videos, now is a very good time to stop allowing that.
How about go fuck yourself, Matt
We could
Walsh?
probably assume that Mr. Beast would prefer not to have to deal with this, but Tyson has forced him to make a choice, and he chose. And he chose wrong.
Yeah,
This is really the common thread. Tyson is forcing this onto people who are close to him. Transitioning is wrong always and every time. First, because it's impossible. You cannot transition from one sex to the other.
Yes, you can.
But even if we lived in the sort of science fiction
can transition.
universe
It
where
happens
such a
right
thing
now.
was possible, it would still be wrong to do it when you're married and you have a child. Like, if I believed in the reality of transitioning, I would still say that by the time you get married and conceive a child, the transition ship has sailed. It is your responsibility.
Why should they be miserable? How about that one? That's stupid.
Now it's your obligation to suppress that part of you and live as the
Why should
man
they
that your wife
oppress
and child
themselves,
need you to be.
stupid?
Oh, well, how reasonable of him. Just suppress it and be miserable for the rest of your life. Presumably like Matt Walsh, whose obsession with trans people is merely a coincidence, I'm sure. These people are genuinely unhinged. And it's shocking to me that a video like that can get 500,000 views, with people overwhelmingly agreeing that, yeah, everything that he's saying here is perfectly reasonable. Now notice how he is explicitly calling on parents to not let their kids watch Mr. Beast, specifically because Chris is trans, and a trans person being in a video, well, that makes it inherently political and in your face. But the simple inclusion of a trans person, that doesn't make it political or even pro-trans. Trans people exist. So to have them in a video, apparently, according to Matt Walsh, that just automatically taints it. It taints Mr. Beast's entire channel. See, these right-wingers aren't outraged by specific trans people or vocal trans activists. It's trans existence that bothers them, full stop. And they're giving away the game here increasingly. They're saying the quiet part loud more frequently now. So think about how quickly things have escalated. Right-wingers first argued that they're not necessarily transphobic. Trans people should be free to live however they want. They simply just don't want gender ideology to be pushed on their children, and that's where they take
Everything
issue with
you
trans people.
is
But now
is a
they're just
trans
admitting,
agenda.
actually, we don't like trans people. We think that being trans is inherently
that's the
wrong,
reality of the situation.
and we need...
You just hate people being trans. That's the end of it. Then, fuck you. You're a transphobic piece of shit.
to eradicate transgender people. Oops, I mean eradicate transgenderism. We definitely don't mean genocide, though. See, this is where we're at. And people like Matt Walsh have huge audiences, and they're setting the agenda. So much so that Republican legislators and attorneys generals are listening. Vice reports, Missouri is the first state to severely restrict gender-affirming care for transgender adults amid a nationwide GOP-led push to legislate away trans rights. The state's attorney general, Andrew Bailey, announced an emergency regulation on Thursday that aims to limit access to gender-affirming care for Missourians by setting sweeping new rules for those seeking treatment. Quote, I will always fight to protect children because gender transition interventions are experimental, Bailey said in a statement. Science actually supports gender affirming care, and it's not experimental. Now, let's just pause right there. That is how these things should be reported on. Vice News is correct to just lay out the facts. But understand that this attorney general, as he is announcing a ban on gender affirming care for adults, he's still citing children as his motivator. See, this is why many of us said that the whole think of the children argument was disingenuous from the start. They were hiding the ball. But as they literally now do the unthinkable, they still cloak their rhetoric in disingenuous concern trolling over children. But why? You're already just doing what you've been wanting to do. So why lie? Why gaslight us at this point? We know that you don't want trans people to exist, and this is you trying to eliminate trans people from existence. I mean, I don't have to tell you all, because my audience knows, this is going to kill trans people in Missouri, because we're talking about an effective total ban on gender affirming care that is for, again, adults. Vice continues, the emergency rule makes it impossible for transgender people of all ages to access gender affirming care unless they have exhibited a medically documented, quote, long-lasting, persistent, and intense pattern of gender dysphoria for 3 years. They also have to prove they've received a full psychological or psychiatric assessment and 15 separate hourly sessions of therapy, at least 10 of which must be with the same therapist. This follows several anti-trans lobbyists and lawmakers who've attempted to falsely equate transness with severe mental illness. People seeking
just like they assumed gay people were mentally
such
ill
care
historically.
will have to be screened for autism and other pre-existing issues such as anxiety and depression, and pre-existing conditions must, quote, have been treated and resolved before a person can access gender-affirming care. Healthcare providers also have to check that a minor who is trans has received a comprehensive screening annually and isn't suffering from social media addiction. Care is also prohibited if healthcare workers don't check yearly whether a patient is experiencing social contagion with respect to the patient's gender identity. This is likely based on yet another GOP spread myth that transness is a trend or a craze. So this is an effective ban on gender affirming care for everyone in the state of Missouri. And sure, they're going to cite the exceptions to make it sound as if they are reasonable, but there's a plethora of caveats and stipulations that give them the ability to deny gender affirming care to anyone, even if they theoretically qualify, including adults who should be able to make this decision for themselves. Now, this goes into effect on April 27th and will remain in effect until 2024. So, I feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but this is obviously them trying to eliminate trans people from existence. We're not just talking about a mere inconvenience for trans people here. We're talking about a policy that is literally going to kill trans people. But this was always the goal. It's not like that's going to deter them once they find out that denying gender affirming care to trans people increases suicidal ideation. That's their goal. So understand that Mr. Beast doesn't have to change anything about his content to become their enemy. The fact that he didn't reject his friend for being trans makes him inherently evil according to these deranged right-wingers, because their goal is the complete and total elimination of trans people by any means necessary. And simply having a trans friend is antithetical to that genocidal goal, which is why they're targeting Mr. Beast and going against him so vociferously. And what they're going to do, I'm assuming, is they're going to continue to try to bully Mr. Beast until he gives into the mob and not only removes Chris from his videos, but repudiates transgenderism that he tried to push. But Mr. Beast, given, what we've seen with his initial response, he's going to continue to be an unconditional friend to Chris because they've been friends for a very long time, regardless of, whether or not Chris is trans or not. And that's not going to change anytime soon. So it seems like right-wingers chose the wrong YouTuber to fuck with, because Mr. Beast has a far larger platform than any of these ghouls. And so if they really want to provoke Mr. Beast into becoming a real trans ally, well, they're going to end up inadvertently goading him into doing that. Because if you continue to poke the Beast, trans rights are human rights. And here's my video about that as well to my millions and millions of fans.
I hope Mr. Beast does that if he didn't do that yet. That'd be awesome. So yeah, remember a few months ago, fuck all you leftists that had a meltdown over Mr. Beast helping people get their eyesight back by using charity and stuff like that. Fuck you. Also, fuck the transphobic right for having a meltdown by him having a trans friend. Get over it, you stupid cunts. There's nothing wrong with being trans, so deal with it. Alright. And now finally, for our last topic, conservatives rage at Bud Light. And here we go once again. We just covered conservatives balding about trans rights. Now they're doing it once again, as Bud Light just recently did some ads recently with a trans individual promoting Bud Light. And of course, oh boy, the right has had such a meltdown over it. It's hilarious. They are mauling badly over it. Massive boycotting of Bud Light and doing really stupid things too, It is hilarious as Mike once again is covered. Just look at this. This is the right Malden over Bud Light having a trans person promote their drinks. This is just wild. Dude at a Walmart destroying Bud Light because of that.
Oh shit!
I wonder what Walmart they're even at that sells beer. Alcohol. I don't remember seeing a Walmart do that before. But look at this! Just destroying beer because of an ad.
Why destroy the Bush Light, dude? Why?
And look, you got arrested. I hope it was worth it, you stupid fuck.
Woo! Good job.
Man, I feel bad for
Quite
those
their
employees.
crowd.
Have to clean that up now. Oh man. Just why? Why would you do that? Was it worth it? Idiots.
You just watched a 44-year-old man named J. Dustin Kane destroy Bud Light in a Walmart located in Topeka, Kansas. And as Forbes reports, the man seen in the viral video was charged with felony battery, assault, and exposing his genitals in public, according to Topeka police. Boy, am I glad that we didn't catch that last part on video. Now, look, I can't confirm for sure what motivated his behavior there, but I do have a hunch, as I'm sure you do as well. It was likely the case that this man was caught up in right-wing hysteria over Bud Light sponsoring trans influencer Dylan Mulvaney, and things got even more heated yesterday when Trump Jr. seemingly abandoned the movement by calling on conservatives to not boycott Bud Light after learning that they primarily donate to Republican politicians. However, he was subsequently denounced by conservatives who...
For once in his life, Don Jr. actually had a brain. Yeah, I mean... If you guys care about making money to help your cause, you should not bite the hand that feeds.
Claimed that he took an L with that particular take, but after learning that all conservatives were not in lockstep on this issue, he probably just couldn't take it, and he figured now was the time to take a stand and stick it to Bud Light. And you do that, I guess, by going into a random Walmart and destroying Bud Light. Busch Light was collateral damage, apparently. Now, as a former Walmart employee myself, all that I could think about was the existential dread that the employees must have felt after they saw the colossal fucking mess that this unhinged dipshit left for them. But we've got even more videos that are sure to trigger the PTSD of any former or current retail workers, because conservatives, for some reason lately, have made it their mission to make the lives of minimum wage employees of corporations even worse than they already are. So the man who destroyed the beer in Walmart, that's bad in and of itself, right? But at least he was self-aware enough to realize that it wasn't a good idea to film himself doing that, because you're not going to really score very many points on the internet over your public meltdown. But other conservatives, for some reason, they don't have that self-awareness that that unhinged dipshit that we just watched has. So other conservatives think that posting their public meltdowns is actually a good idea. Case in point, here's a video shared by Charlie Kirk of a conservative reverend going full Karen on woke Lego employees.
Now Lego's woke. Oh my god. Everything to you conservative dipshits is woke. You need to just stop and get over it. Quit harassing workers.
The Lego group supports what?
The Lego group pretty proudly supports the LGBTQ community. Do we not?
Yeah.
Yes.
But the question is, why are you all in here with those pins on? Do you think children care about what man sucks at home and what girl eats vaginas at home? Do you think they care about that?
It's time to leave, man.
I don't think I mean, are you really going to talk about that in a place that where kids are going to be at? I'm pretty sure most people would think that's probably inappropriate and weird that you'd even bring it up. And why are you bugging Lego workers? Like, come on. They probably got enough crap to deal with kids, for God's sake. They don't need man-childs crying about, me, LGBT representation.
Do you think they care?
I don't think they think about that personally.
Right, so why would they think about it when they see your pen?
They don't.
Yes, they do. It's disgusting.
No, most kids would not care whatsoever. And if they did, they'll properly explain how being gay and trans, there's nothing wrong with it. So, eat crap.
That's called grooming.
Right.
Yes, good old grooming.
That you're in here wearing a pride flag on your shirt.
Come on, guys, it's time to leave.
You know what's amazing? Most children don't know. He's been educated by me. I think it's grooming. It's borderline pedophilia and...
Of course. Being gay and trans or support it's pedophilia, grooming, and child abuse, stuff like that.
Child abuse for these weirdos to come in here and wear that, and at the same time, kids buy from the store. When does it stop? I'm sick and tired.
You don't have to shop.
Huh? Yeah, but I came here to buy something. When does it stop? At some point, we need to stop pushing this mess on children.
At this point, we're just going to have to ask you to leave.
I'll leave. Okay. And I won't spend any money at Lego.
Fantastic.
If you're in here right now, and you care about value, this store is intentionally promoting LGBTQ behavior on children.
Sir.
It's not promoting it on kids. It's just accepting people for who they are. Now Lego and all these corporations, like I said earlier, all they care about is money. I don't think they really care about gay rights and stuff like that. If they can make one more penny by being homophobic, guess what? They're going to be homophobic. But right now, the majority of Americans are pro-gay rights, so they're going to try and milk that as much as possible. They might not care about whatsoever, but hey, them being pro-gay is perfectly supportive in my eyes, even if it's for a nefarious reason like capitalism.
Spend your money in a place that doesn't do that to kids.
Sir, you're about to get trespassed.
Thank you.
I want to remind everyone, just so we can all stay grounded here, that grown-ass man was melting down because he saw employees in a Lego store wearing rainbow pins.
Legos!
That's it.
Over Legos!
And I love how he thinks it's an own to tell the employees that he's not going to do business with them any longer. Do you think that these minimum wage employees give a shit about that? Do you think that they personally pocket the money after you give it to them? No, they put it in the cash register and it goes to the major corporation that they work for. You not shopping there literally makes their lives easier. But this is, I guess, a new thing that conservatives are trying to do, where they make political points by trying to, I guess, dunk on minimum wage employees. So most of you probably remember Ethan Schmidt. He's the moron who went viral last year for harassing pets.
Oh yeah, I remember this. I think we covered this 2 months ago when this idiot bugged PetSmart for the same reason. PetSmart? Like, jeez, you conservatives, do you have no time to touch grass or something? Come on, just stop.
Smart employees for having a pride flag up at the cash register. And now he's at it again, this time harassing employees in Build-A-Bear over...
Yes, Build-A-Bear. I actually wanted to cover this too because Benny Boy had a meltdown recently on it, but I had to pick and choose and thankfully just covered it too. Oh, boo-hoo. Build-A-Bear, an awesome place. I used to go there before too, back in Central Maryland. Build-A-Bear is a cool place. Conservatives are having a meltdown because Build-A-Bear Workshop has I think it was a non-binary like stuffed ant bear you can make now or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but dude, it's a stuffed animal. You're gonna mold over that?
They're gender-neutral pronouns.
I'm sure.
Here we go. Harassing Build-A-Bear Workshop now. Alright, let's see the harassment now. These people don't deserve it. The pet shop people didn't deserve their harassment. The Lego people didn't deserve harassment. Now Build-A-Bear Workshop again.
Hello. Is that a pronoun pin?
Oh yeah, it is.
What does that mean? Like, I'm really curious on the pronouns. Like, I really don't understand what it means. They, them. What does that mean? Like, they, them, theirs? Like,
So instead of saying, oh, she's going into the back to get her water bottle, they went to the back to get their water bottle.
That doesn't make sense.
How does it not make sense?
That doesn't make sense. Like,
they don't identify as a he or she.
You're just one person, though. Right?
Yeah, it's like if you're, if like someone dropped something and it got left somewhere.
Yeah.
And you didn't know who it belonged to, it's like, oh, I hope they come back for it.
It makes
Because
perfect sense
just
what
belongs
she's
to
saying.
one person, but you don't know who it is, so you just say they, even though it just still belongs to one person.
What about it?
Some people do use it.
It? Okay.
I know a couple people who do.
Okay. I just find it so strange. You guys don't support the LGBT agenda here, do you?
Here we go. Good old
At
LGBT
Build-A-Bear?
agenda.
Do you support LGBT agenda at Build-A-Bear?
We do support LGBT employees, because I am.
You're LGBT?
Yeah.
Well, you know,
Good on you.
Excuse me, why are you filming in this
It's
store?
Easter, so I just want to let you guys know that, you know, Christ is Lord, and, you know, hopefully you guys find Christ here at Build-A-Bear. All right. Christ wins. God bless. You know, Build-A-Bear needs to find Christ. Wow. Build-A-Bear is super woke.
Yes, it's woke. Yes, it's very woke.
Brother, has anyone ever told you just once that you are a fucking loser and you need a hobby? Any hobby. It could be anything.
Just
Video
touch some
games,
grass.
drawing, just find something else to do with your time,
Touch
because I
grass,
guarantee
you'll
whatever
feel a
you
lot
choose is
better
going to
with
be more
yourself.
productive than that. Now, this is kind of his shtick, I guess. He just walks into stores and harasses employees, and he doesn't even try to say anything clever or be funny.
The fact that we literally just saw people act more like fucking babies than kids at a Lego store and Build-A-Bear workshop. That is absolutely wild. And I've been in both places. Absolutely insane.
He just points out how offended he is by Pride stuff. Now, he was apparently very busy that day because he hit up other stores in the mall, and he also went to a Barnes & Noble where, of course, he filmed himself harassing employees and customers who may or may not be woke.
Now a bookstore is harassed.
Sir, do you have a gay pride section for children?
For children?
Yes.
I don't think we have one for children. No.
Thank
We do have a
God.
pride table right there.
Thank God you don't have one for children. Thank you,
Check
sir.
it out. See if there's kid stuff in the
Yeah, let's check it out though. Let's make sure.
Big deal if they
If there
did,
is, we're
you
gonna have to complain to
transphobic
corporate
cunt.
about
You can't
that.
take them. You can't take their word for it.
Take your grift somewhere
Sneak
else.
stuff in like a Trojan horse.
Oh,
Here's
the
the gay
nerve of
loser
having
pride
pride
section.
books. Oh, boo hoo. They are right to walk away. I'm sure they're going to be harassed.
The gay loser pride section.
Gay loser pride section.
Gay loser pride section. I'm just really tempted just to kick it down, man.
Do it. Do it. I dare you to kick that down and damage those books so you can go right to the slammer. And I will be laughing my ass off. Do it. Do it. I dare you.
Very unstable, much like their ideology.
They have it right in the middle of the store, too. Just like a satanic shrine.
A satanic.
Excuse me, y'all vaccinated? Y'all vaccinated to get the COVID-19? Yeah?
Oh my gosh.
Natural selection. Natural
Oh,
selection,
if I remember
they said.
correctly, because I watched this the other day before I filmed this episode, I think right here he was actually bugging people because they got a COVID vaccine. Now we have a vaccine denier and other idiots. Oh my god, can you leave people alone if they get vaccinated or not now too? Dude, just stop.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Ooh, a natural selection.
Ethan Schmidt, right?
What?
Ethan Schmidt, right?
Yeah.
I need you to leave.
Whoa!
So, if you would, I need you to leave.
Whoa, we got Kevin.
Goodbye!
Good day.
Serves you right!
I need you to
That's what
leave.
you
don't
get
like
for
Ethan
harassing
Schmidt?
people! Get lost!
You need to leave.
You don't
See,
like
you
Ethan
make the
Schmidt?
kid cry. You're a cunt. Get out.
Hey,
Yay.
we exposed all your
you deserve
all
it.
your woke shit, so.
Woke.
Have a good day. Already exposed
I'm
this, so.
harassing
All
people
right.
at stores.
Have a good one.
I'm getting kicked out by cops. They're all woke.
They teamed up on you.
Oh, it's Ethan Schmidt. Oh.
The fact that they know you is
So,
pretty
you think they knew you, or
sad.
they like figured out who you were really quickly?
Oh my god.
Yeah, they know who I am. All these employees of these woke stores know who I am, bro.
He seems so proud that everybody knows that he's the local dipshit who goes around filming himself harassing minimum wage workers. I mean, if that is your most proud achievement, if you will, then again, You need to find a better way to spend your time. But I've got another video for you. So in this next video, you're going to see a conservative prankster, I guess, who you may or may not recognize, depending on how terminally online you are. But he is going to, I guess, clown on trans people by taking his dog to a vet and asking if they can give the dog a sex change. And this is supposed to make a point about transgender people and how bad and crazy they are. Let's watch.
We wanted to do like a gender transition to him being female, but we don't want to neuter him. Have you seen this question? So no, we're just filming a documentary for his transition. You guys don't offer sex changes yet?
That would be, yeah.
I don't think dogs. I don't think there's a sex transition for dogs. Because dogs.
It's a male dog.
Dogs. Oh my god. What? Oh, that's right. I forgot. These people don't believe that sex and gender are separate. Guys, sex and gender are separate things. Gender is a social construct. Dogs don't have social constructs. They're animals. They don't think about this stuff like we do. Like, that's why there's no sex change of animals. Like, come on, man. God, so stupid. But hey, that's what happens when you deny reality.
I got it. But every time, if we put a tutu in front of him, he'll put it on right away.
Because dogs don't really like getting dressed. They don't think, to them, clothes are just... They don't understand what clothes are like we do. Because clothes are a societal construct that we made up in society to keep ourselves warm, keep ourselves not from being embarrassed, and privacy, and yeah.
Well, I wouldn't call that behavior though. We were saying gender identity is behavioralism.
I want you to leave. This is my property. I want to leave the premises. Okay? I'm going to charge you for trespassing if you continue staying.
So
go ahead and start
we
recording.
can't do a gender transition.
I'm just telling you, you got to leave the property.
I'm reporting this to the LGBTQ plus minus 2
Wherever you like.
Got him. You see, the funny thing about this prank is that it demonstrates that there is a clear difference between sex and gender, which conservatives oftentimes refuse to acknowledge. Dogs technically don't have genders, so unless you assign a gender to them by putting a tutu on them, for example, you literally have no way of knowing that they're male or female unless you look between their legs. But in the end, you caught a glimpse of one of the imbeciles involved here, and he's actually Steve Will Do It of the Nelk Boys. And for no particular reason, I'm going to play this clip of him talking about his dog. Trigger warning.
I'm actually not going to play it because it was... What he was talking about was so insane, so creepy and weird that I honestly don't trust YouTube not taking this down. Let's just say it was way too sexual probably to be safe. I'm not even going to take the chance. But let's just say if you want to check it out. It was very weird, very freaky. I remember when he first talked about it, I was like, what am I hearing? What? Yeah, I don't even want to take the chance. It was just so stupid. It's just weird. Like, and the funny thing is that this video I thought was supposed to be about rage about Bud Light because that was what started as most controversy recently about Bud Light and stuff like that. Like the guy who was no, it wasn't the guy in the video. I remember, what was it, Kid Rock, or whoever that fucking actor is or whatever, bought a whole bunch of Bud Light and then shot him up with an AR-15. Dude, you're the sucker. You just spent money to Bud Light and you just destroyed what you just bought. Like, how does that send a message? They got their money. You're the idiot that destroyed what you got out of it, so you're not going to get anything out of it. Like, guys, if you want to really, like, stick it to Bud Light because they're woke, just don't buy their stuff. That's how you get their message sent. Like, you don't need to go out and buy it and destroy it to send a message. You look like an idiot in the end. You don't need to destroy it like the person at Walmart did, because guess what? You're going to get arrested. And for the love of God, stop making a big deal about LGBT people. There's nothing wrong with them. They're being who they are. Accept it and go fuck off. Leave Bud Light alone. Leave Legos alone. Leave Build-A-Bear Workshop alone. Leave PetSmart alone. leave Barnes & Nobles alone. I think there was another store in this list too, but can't remember what it was because there were so many of them that were covered. Just stop. You look like clowns, and you are clowns. Get over it. Alright, so that is finally all the topics now. So I hope you all enjoyed this episode, and see you guys next time for episode 75, and hopefully my co-host will be there. So see you guys then.